Only the Sherman Firefly, a conversion undertaken by the British, whereby they replaced the low-velocity, short-barreled 75mm gun of the Sherman with a modified version of their own 17-pounder anti-tank gun, gave the Allies a tank that could penetrate the 80mm frontal armour of the Panther at combat ranges. Fireflies were issued on the basis of 1 per troop of 4 Shermans. Naturally, Panther commanders attempted to target the Fireflies first in any British tank attack, the long 17-pounder barrel being a unique recognition feature. Tank crews often tried to disguise this so as to render the tank less obvious. Fireflies were successful in destroying Panthers, as is seen in the still of a knocked-out Model A in the Odom Valley. Until the arrival of the American M26, with its 90mm gun just before the end of the war, the Firefly remained unique in its ability to take on and kill the big German cats. The vulnerability of Allied tanks to the Panther and Tiger nearly became a political scandal in the United Kingdom, with Field Marshal Montgomery having to intervene to insist that the threat posed by the German tanks was overblown and that Allied tanks were well up to the task expected of them. While such a view may have been acceptable for official consumption, Allied tank crews remained extremely sceptical. Many Allied tanks now began to carry extra armour in the form of welded-on track chutes. It was, however, discovered that a Panther could be killed by getting close enough to get in a shot on the lower part of the gun mantlet. The tank shell would then ricochet downward to break through the thinner hull top armour above the driver and machine gun operator. American tankers also discovered that a shell ricocheting off the ground in front of the Panther might penetrate the lower hull armour. As both these methods required the Allied tank to get well within the Panther's gun range, it took a brave crew to attempt such a tactic. Even as the Allies were grinding down the German forces in Normandy, the propaganda ministry saw fit to show the comparative testing of a Panther against an Allied tank, even though that chosen was an M3 Lee, which was no longer serving in armoured divisions in Europe. Naturally enough, the footage clearly revealed the superiority of the Panther. One can only assume that the ministry had determined that, having seen this film, German civilians would go home to their beds confident that the fate of the Reich must be assured the army possessed such superior weapons.